Hello there, my name is Tobin Reinwald and these are my colleagues, Sean and Alan, and we are going to be talking about the Democratic Republic of Congo today. To give you guys a brief overview, I'm going to be going over some background information as well as a brief history of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Then Alan is going to be talking about current events and issues, and then Sean is finally going to wrap it up and talk about some developmental issues with the country. Just some general information about the Democratic Republic of Congo. Its capital is Kinshasa. Its official language is French. However, there are multiple other languages spoken in DR Congo, including Lingala, Kituba, Swahili, and Shiluba. The country currently operates under a unitary semi-presidential republic. Its current president is Joseph Kabila, and its prime minister is Augustin Matata Ponyo. Its population as of 2015 is almost 82 million, and the currency the country uses is Congolese franc. Now for some geographical information on the DR Congo. It is the second biggest country in all of Africa. Its bordering countries are the Republic of Congo, Central African Republic, and South Sudan to the north, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, and Tanzania to the east, and Zambia and Angola to the south. And then on the west side, the Atlantic Ocean borders. Some natural resources that are common in the DR Congo are cobalt, copper, petroleum, and coal, as well as many others. Over the last 140 years, the Democratic Republic of Congo has had its country's name changed a multitude of times. Starting in 1860, it was known as the Congo Free State. It was then changed a few years later to the Belgian Congo. It was then changed to the Democratic Republic of the Congo for the first time, and later it was switched to the Republic of Zaire, and it has since been reverted back to its name of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and that is what it is currently known as today. Now to dive into some history of DR Congo. It was populated over 80,000 years ago. As far as some more recent history, when it was referred to as the Congo Free State, this was during the era of about 1877 to 1908, when King Leopold acquired the rights to the Congo territory in 1885. Then in 1885, disease struck and millions of people died from smallpox and sleeping sickness. During this time, from 1885 to 1908, nearly half the population was cut. From 1908 to 1960 then, the country was known as the Belgian Congo. Belgian Parliament took over Leopold's Free State during this time. It then became a Belgian colony in 1908. From 1910 to 1959, the population increased from 1,928 to 89,000. During this time, healthcare and education became more of an importance as well. From 1960 to 1965, what was then called the Republic of Congo achieved independence in June of 1960. Patrice Lumumba became the first prime minister during this time. The Europeans were eventually replaced by the people of Congo, and Lumumba was later dismissed from office a few months later in that same year of 1960. This was due to a crisis between the president and prime minister at the time. Ultimately, Joseph Mobutu took over and changed the name of the country to the Democratic Republic of Congo. Then, when the country was referred to as Zaire from about 1971 to 1997, Mobutu declared himself the head of state. During this time, there were multiple violations of human rights, a lot of political repression, and tons of corruption. Then 1996 came about, and the DR Congo had the issue of civil wars. This began when Rwanda and Uganda invaded Zaire in what was known as the First Congo War. Then Laurent Desire Kabila became president and renamed the country to the Democratic Republic of the Congo. This is when the name was reverted back to what it is known as today. In 1997, Mobutu was forced out by the armed forces. Then the Second Congo War occurred in 1998. In 2006, DR Congo held its first multi-party election in July. Kabila's son at the time, Joseph, became the president and still is currently. Since Joseph Kabila became president, there have been an estimated 45,000 deaths per month. There's an estimated between 900,000 and 5.4 million deaths during the entire conflict period. Of these deaths, over half were to children ages 5 and under. Now to dive into some information in regards to ethnic groups and religion. There are over 200 ethnic groups in DR Congo. The majority are Bantu peoples. Oh my gosh. Some other ethnicities include Mongo, Luba, Bantu, and Mangbitu Azande, and these people make up about 45% of the population. As for religions in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Catholics make up the majority of the population at about 37%. Next are Protestants at 32%, and then other Christian faiths at 11.2%. Sunni Islam makes up about 6%, Ahmadiyya Islam makes up 1%, and other Muslim religions make up about 4%. Indigenous religions then make up the remaining 3%. Now for some information about the economy of DR Congo. The gross domestic product, when adjusted for purchasing power, was about $63.27 billion. This boiled down to about $800 per capita. The agriculture sector makes up about 20.3%. Some crops that DR Congo grows include coffee, sugar, cotton, and corn. The industry sector makes up about 33.5%, and services make up 46.2%. The unemployment rate of DR Congo is roughly 8% and has been hovering around that mark for the past couple decades.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Democratic Republic of Congo Economic Development News Report. I'm Alan Hamill. Our top story today is news agency Reuters is reporting that a political crisis may be growing in the Democratic Republic of Congo due to the possibility that President Joseph Kabila may be seeking a third term. The country's constitution sets term limits prohibiting such action. Tom Perillo, the U.S. Special Envoy to Africa's Great Lakes region, warns that such a move could undermine political and economic gains seen in the country over the past decade. The elections are scheduled for this November. The Committee to Protect Journalists has condemned the action of the DRC government to force a pair of TV stations to quit broadcasting after failing to pay taxes and licensing fees. The stations claim that the payments were paid. The stations are owned by a businessman and politician, Moise Katumbi, who left the ruling party in September 2015 and later joined an opposition party. Katumbi has been rumored to be a candidate for the presidential election in opposition to current leader Joseph Kabila. The Committee to Protect Journalists has documented several attacks on the press in the past year, including blocking cell phone and internet access, as well as arbitrary arrests and physical attacks on journalists. The Democratic Republic of Congo's mining ministry says that they could revise the mining code established in 2002, reversing previous comments from the ministry, according to Bloomberg Business. The newest proposals would look to increase government revenue by increasing profit taxes from 30 up to 35%, among other proposals. An industry lobbyist group opposes the changes, saying that these revisions would lead to companies scaling back investment in the country. The DRC is Africa's leading producer of copper. Government red tape is hindering business in the DRC, according to the BBC. They report that the country has begun implementing a new law 9 years after its passage. The law redrew internal borders within the country and nearly doubled the number of provinces within the country. A mineral-rich province, Katanga, has now been divided into 4 separate provinces. This action has required mining companies to work around the bureaucracy of each province. At least 21 people were killed in the DRC as part of ethnic violence in the country. Newsweek reports that 40 more people were injured as rival groups attacked the Hutu ethnic group by burning down 70 houses. There are more than 200 different ethnic groups in the country, and ethnic violence is not a new occurrence. The world's largest United Nations peacekeeping force resides in the country to try to quell violence that has killed over 5 million people over the last several years. The DRC will allow 150 children to leave the country with their adoptive parents, Reuters reports. The children will finally be allowed to leave after more than a 2-year wait. The country imposed a temporary ban on exit visas to children adopted by foreign parents back in 2013, citing fears of potential abuse and concerns about adoptions by gay couples. The country has more than 4 million orphaned children, according to UNICEF. And finally, in sports, the DRC has claimed the 2016 African Nations Championship for soccer. The country defeated Mali in the championship by a final score of 3-0. This is the second championship for the country, who has also won the inaugural tournament held in 2009. For the Democratic Republic of Congo News Update, this is Alan Hamill.
Before I get into the development issues of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, I'm going to first talk about some of the potential that the country holds. First off, the Democratic Republic of the Congo is the second largest country in Africa and is the 11th largest country in the world. It is also the 19th most populated country in the world. The Democratic Republic of the Congo has very vast resources, including 1,100 minerals and precious metals. Also, with 80 million hectares of arable land, these factors that I just listed are reasons why experts believe that the Democratic Republic of the Congo should be a thriving country. All right, now that I'm going to talk about some of the issues of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, I'm going to talk about the government, the war, the infrastructure, education and literacy rate, the exports and imports, and then I'm going to end it with some of potential or growing aspects of the country. First off, I'm going to talk about the development issues pertaining to the government. Since about 1960, the Democratic Republic of the Congo has suffered from the government due to the corrupt leaders and corrupt government that they have had in office. In 1960, Patrice Lumumba was forced to leave the country due to the fact that he was embezzling millions of dollars, and also the U.S. wanted him to leave the country because he was said to be involved in the Cold War. And then in 1965, Mobutu Sese Seko seizes power and takes control from 1965 till 1996. The Democratic Republic of Congo has had very corrupt leaders and government that have forced the country to suffer economically. In 1960, Patrice Lumumba was the Prime Minister of DRC, but he was overthrown due to corrupt acts siphoning off massive personal wealth, and Lumumba's act led to massive debt, producing various economic problems. Mobutu took power in 1965. People believed that Mobutu had good intentions, but they were wrong. Laurent Kabila ended up expelling Mobutu from the country because Mobutu was corrupt and was believed to embezzle between $4 to $15 billion. Laurent Kabila then became the leader of DRC. But as Tobin mentioned, he was assassinated in 2001. Thus, his son, Joseph Kabila, took over. And that is currently the leader of DRC. DRC has never really had a good leader. That is the reason why they have problems developing. War is a major development issue for the Democratic Republic of the Congo. First off, the war first started in 1997. It is the world's deadliest war since World War II. It has resulted in 5.4 million deaths, with children accounting for 47% of those. Although that most of these deaths are not due to war causes, they are actually due to nonviolent causes, such as just various diseases that are apparent in the country. Although violence has slightly decreased, still 45,000 people die each month. Next, I'm going to talk about the weak and poor infrastructure that the country has. The Democratic Republic of the Congo suffers a lot of their infrastructure problems due to the conflict and wars that are happening. Infrastructure assets have either been destroyed or have been ruined due to the fact of the conflicts that are taking place. More than half of the existing infrastructure needs rehabilitation. Currently, there are 198 airports in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Only 26 of those are paved, which means that 172 of those are unpaved. There are 4,007 kilometers of railways in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and also there's various kilometers of roads. 2,794 kilometers are paved, while 150,703 kilometers are unpaved. There are 15,000 kilometers of waterways in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. But there's only 10 ports that are on these waterways, and there's only one major seaport. So with all these kilometers of waterways, there's really not any structured or port or anything that is actually functioning. The infrastructure faces big problems due to the fact that they have a vast geography, they have low population density. That is because even though they have a high population, they are scattered all over the country. They have extensive forest lands which inhabit people to build infrastructures in the country. And also they have various crisscrossing rivers that also limit infrastructure capabilities. Let's talk about the development issues pertaining to education and literacy. 1.6% of the GDP goes towards education, which is very low. And in 2011, the U.S. has used about 5.6% of their GDP towards education. Their school life expectancy for a male is 11 years and for a female is 8 years. And then 63.8% of the Democratic Republic of Congo's people are literate. But this number is actually a lot higher than what it should be, because that accounts for people that are 15 or older that can read and write. 78.1% of males are literate and 50% of females are literate. Now I'm going to talk about exports and imports. There was $12.98 billion in exports in 2014 for the Democratic Republic of Congo. Most of these exports consist of diamonds, copper, gold, cobalt, wood products, crude oil, and coffee. Their major trading partners are China, which is 39.3%, Zambia, which is 24.7%, Italy, 8.6%, and Belgium, which is 4.4%. The Democratic Republic of the Congo had $11.98 billion in imports in 2014. A lot of these imports were foodstuffs, mining and other machinery, transport equipment, and fuels. Again, their main important partners are China, which is 19.6%, South Africa, which is 17.9%, Zambia, which is 15.9%, Belgium, which is 6.1%, and Zimbabwe, which is 4.1%. Simple. Lastly, I just want to talk about the progress that the Democratic Republic of the Congo has made. The Democratic Republic of the Congo has grew and had an economic growth of 7.4% from 2010 to 2013. Also, it's had an 8.7% economic growth in 2014. The growth is due to extractive industries, good trends in commodity prices, and public investments. Inflation, which was at an awful 53% in 2009, has stood at 1% since 2013 due to discrete fiscal and monetary policies. So although the Democratic Republic of the Congo seems to be one of the worst countries in the world, it has actually been starting to make some progress. For an overview, Tobin talked to you about some background information, then Alan hit you up with some current events, and then I talked to you about development issues facing the Democratic Republic of Congo. Thank you for tuning in to this Alan Hamill production. Tobin and I will be able to answer any questions you guys have in class. Here are our sources, and now we'll open up to any questions you guys have.